welcome back to part 2 of the CB750 rebuild, and in part 1 we were working through some jobs primarily on the engine carbs to see if we could get the bike to run. The purpose of the video was really to see what will it cost to get this bike back on the road. What do we need to spend going through all the different things? I'm not really including labor in this, but what are the tasks involved? What do we need to do to make it safe? And if you didn't get a chance to see part 1, check out the link in the description below. You can click on that and watch that later. In the meantime, in this video, we're going to be going through some of the other cosmetic tasks. But so far, we've been through the carbs. We've changed all the fluids. We've fixed a problem we had with the sump, with the sump plug that was stripped, changed the oil filter, and basically sorted out a couple of little electrical gremlins. The rest will follow through now, so let's carry on with part 2, and here's some of the things that we're going to be working on in this episode. So the dollar count so far, we're just shy of $500, and we've gone through the carbs, bought new keys, engine oil, gas tank cleaning, etc., airbox rubbers, filters, and this leads us into episode 2, part 2, which we'll go through now, and at the end of this episode we'll also total up the costs here to see what our total spend is so far on recommissioning the 750. So we turn our attention to the exhausts, which, as I've mentioned multiple times, they actually look really good. There is light surface rust, so we thought at this point it'd be a good time to just take off the pipes left and right side. We'll change the gaskets while we're doing this, of course, but it'll give us an opportunity to get out some chrome polish, see what we've got. Bolts for the sump, we just dropped the sump down again, just really to fix the threads on the plug. We managed to find another Honda sump plug for a different model with a slightly larger 14mm thread, and we're actually able to fix that and remove this unusual sump plug that somebody had jammed in. So we carefully put the sump back into place, put all the bolts in, and then loosely tighten those up before we torqued it down to spec. Next up, we're using some Motul 3000, really good oil for vintage bikes, very high zinc content, which old engines really enjoy, and also it's not too thin, so it leaks through old gaskets. So time to break out the polish. We'll see how these chrome side covers polish up. Once we've done those, we'll spend some time working on the exhausts that we took off a few moments ago. So we've got 2 very important cleaning products from the UK that you can get in America, but it's really hard to find. Brasso wadding and Solvo Autosol, and quite honestly, it just works wonders. The exhausts are cleaning up really nicely. A little bit of rash on the underneath of the pipes. They're certainly not perfect, but actually cleaning up really well. As you can see, now they're back on the bike. Gotta say, they look really good. So the CB750, the 78, is coming along quite nicely. We've done a little bit of cleanup on some of the chrome, which has really cost just a little bit of time. Carbs are balanced. Everything is matched up to the number 2. We use a DigiSync, which is pretty cool, very accurate. a little too accurate. I think sometimes it's very hard to get every single carb exactly reading exactly the same reading, but honestly it's pretty good. So it's sounding a little rattly, and I'm suspecting we may need a cam chain, and it could be one of the reasons why it was put to bed all those years ago. It started to get noisy. We typically find bikes don't get put away just because the owner got bored. There's normally something went wrong, or something started to make a noise, or something started to tick or rattle, and in this case it could be the cam chain. But we'll try adjusting the chain too with the tensioner, see if it makes any difference. But a valve clearance set may also improve things a little bit. It could be some of the noise, but let's press the button. Alright, so a little bit rattly. I think we'll continue on with the maintenance, adjust the valves. I don't know when the last time they were ever done, and check the cam chain tension is working, and go from there and keep going. But starting to make some progress. Put the airbox back and press on with changing tyres, doing brakes, and doing some of the other mechanical things. Now we know the engine at least runs.
So let's get stuck into the seat, and the first thing we'll do is take off the strap that sits across the passenger strap that sits across the top of the seat. Then we'll straighten up all the little aluminum tabs that hold the outer stainless trim piece on, and all those little clips. If we're careful with those, we can get them off and we can reuse those. The next step is to undo all of the little prongs that the seat cover actually ties into. Luckily they're in really good shape on this seat. Sometimes they break off and snap off. Luckily on this seat pan they're in really good shape, as is the foam underneath the cover. So the plastic has really protected it well over the years. We'll give the pan a quick clean up, get the new seat cover on, and then it's just a case of really adjusting, stretching the seat over the little prongs, adjusting the position of the logo at the back. Sometimes you'll have to move this and stretch it a couple of times to get it perfect, but really happy with this one. One of my least favourite jobs, but it's looking good.
The seat cover is on. I can't decide whether to fit the silver seat trim or not. The silver seat trim to me doesn't kind of match the tank, which I decided to send off, get my painter to work on. Has a gold trim on the bottom, and it always looks a little bit weird with the gold trim running into this kind of stainless silver trim on the seat. So I can't decide whether to leave the trim off the seat or put the trim on the seat and leave the trim off the tank, if that makes sense. But anyway, yeah, actually looks pretty good. Quite happy with that. Never my favourite job doing seats. I kind of class that in the same category as wheels, but they always seem to come out okay if you take your time. And I'm going to get some new chrome strips, and then we'll decide what to do with the stainless trim.
So decision made on the stainless steel trim. I've gone for it. I've put given it a little polish. I put that back on, and again I think it just ties in better with all of the chrome on from the exhaust, on the engine, shocks, mudguard, etc. So we're going to leave that in place and possibly go with a delete on the tank with a gold trim, but I don't think a lot of people will notice, and overall I think it'll just look much better. The seat buckle arrived for the passenger strap, and overall I think that looks really good. Very happy with that.
We're going to tackle the brakes this afternoon. As you can see from the condition, they were pretty stuck. So stuck, in fact, there's no way either the piston or the pads were going to come out. So we did our normal trick where we drill and tap each of the pieces, place a large socket over the top of the caliper, thread a bolt inside and just gradually pull them up. There was no fluid in the system. I don't think it would have come out even if we had put some fluid in and tried to bleed it. It's much quicker and easier than grease. Takes about 10 minutes, a couple of drills, a couple of taps, and then you can just literally pull everything out. So now we're just going to drop all the pieces into the vapor blaster to clean them up. You can see where brake fluid's been leaking over the years, and you can see how kind of rusty and stuck it was. So let's give these a clean up and then get some paint on them and get them rebuilt.
So fresh out of the vapor blaster, and you can see the condition of the parts. They've come out really well. We've got new seal, we've got new piston, new bleed screw, pads, etc. And we've carefully honed the inside of the caliper so that when we actually reassemble this now, everything should go together nicely. Next steps really are we're going to clean this up, get rid of the brake fluid that we use for assembly, and then give it a coat of paint, mask it off carefully while it's assembled, and in that way you're not getting brake fluid all over fresh paint. With the caliper done and back together, we can now turn our attention to the master cylinder, and this is actually stuck solid. You won't be surprised when you see the condition of the brake fluid that's left. I think that's not unusual to see this after 30-40 years of sitting, but yeah, we'll get the brake lever off the master cylinder and then Honda replacement master cylinder kit. Once we've got all of these crusty old components out, we'll get the master cylinder into the vapor blaster, give it a good clean. It's pretty stubborn, but actually not too bad. If you use a good set of long nose pliers, you can get the clip out. And then we actually just took a little brass punch just to carefully push the old cylinder out. We've got all our nice clean pieces ready to go back together. The old parts will go in the trash. The new parts will get a nice coat of brake fluid before we push them back inside. Then once we've got the new pieces and the spring, the cup, everything back inside, we'll give it a really good clean. We'll mask it up, and then we'll get it ready for some paint. And we'll use a ceramic heat-resistant paint. It's really durable. It's actually good with brake fluid in case you get a spill on it, but it'll look much cleaner and nicer than it was, that's for sure. So that's the master cylinder done. We'll just make sure the clip and the rubber seal is in the right position and get those back on the bike and get the brakes bled, and yeah, they look so much better. As we turn our attention to the forks, I was actually really pleasantly surprised. Normally fork oil looks like treacle, and it's one of the most neglected fluids on a bike, but it wasn't actually too bad. So time to get working on my probably second least favourite job after seats, and that's tyres. So we'll remove the original chain. We'll leave that in place so that we can attach the new chain, but let's get these old tyres off and those new Bridgestone BD46s on the front and the rear.
The chain was definitely too crusty to use. It was probably the original one, so we took that off, and we actually left the chain kind of dangling in situ while we changed the rear tyre. It's just much easier to connect up the new chain to the old chain and actually loop its way through, as on the CB750 it's a little bit more involved taking off the side covers to actually gain access to the sprocket. So I think that's worked out well. The chain is in place, tyres are done. While we're down here, you can see we've got some little bit of corrosion in the end of the tailpipes, which we'll finish probably in part 3, and just finish that off, clean it up and put some fresh paint back in there to protect them. They're both luckily intact, and nobody's drilled or punched holes in to make them a bit louder, so I think that'll again just be a cheap finishing touch that'll just make the back end of the bike look a little bit nicer.
So one of the jobs I normally forget to do before I give panels to the painter is just to check the fit. We're using aftermarket panels, and sometimes the gaps in the fit can always be a little bit off, and you can see a mark on the frame just by the red there where it's been rubbing. So we'll just take a second and we'll just smooth out some of these edges, create some nice contours, so once we've got nice fresh new paint on these, it's not going to rub on the frame, and it should also then not rub on the bolts. Every time we take the cover on and off, we're not going to be pushing a beautifully painted panel straight onto bolts and flake off the paint.
So we just finished rerouting the new choke cable. It's not unusual for these handlebar mounted cables to break, and what happens is the plastic gets hard over time, and then with constant pulling and age, the two parts break apart. So we've found an aftermarket replacement that's working great, and that's now routed down through the frame and connected up to the carbs. So the left side footrest, we'd noticed that it was pointing a little high, and we changed out the bracket. We got one off of eBay for 15 bucks. It's good and straight, but I think at some point the bike has had a topple over. I don't know if it actually was on the road. It doesn't seem to be severe enough damage for a road spill, so I'm suspecting it may have fallen over in the garage at some point. And there's a little bit of damage here also to the gauge cluster, the chrome surround, with a scratch. I think it'll also explain why, I don't know if you can see on here, but the bars are a little bent. The left bar seems to be in a little strange position. But anyway, that was an easy fix, just a case of moving the footrest over onto the replacement, and as it's a used one, it looks perfect. It's patinaed and it fits in there just great. So we probably could have got away with not changing the rear tail light lens, but honestly it got a pretty big crack in it, as you can see here, and it also explains why we can see so much rust on the inside from the tail light unit itself. So I think this had been leaking and water had got in there over some time. So anyway, we found a replacement, found a new old stock Honda lens, and it just It's one of those nice little finishing touches. Maybe for 40, 50 bucks we didn't need to spend, but I think it just really helps the overall appearance of the bike. So in part one of the CB750 build, we were having some turn signal issues. It actually was a really simple fix. We removed the old original flasher relay and replaced it temporarily with a spare 12 volt unit I had. It's not the right one and it's not the right shape, but the good news is that now when we turn on our signals, we've got the signals working properly, and even the little buzzer which sits under by the headlamp is working too. The bike's coming along really nicely. Really happy with all the chrome and how that's cleaned up. We've still got scratches and original patina there, but I think overall it looks really good. We changed out the tail light. We've removed and replaced the seat cover. Carbs are all clean. We added a new rubber to the kickstart. It's cost a few cents, and it's worth changing. We took off some of the corrosion that was on the cover of the cylinder head. I think it looks a lot better. We haven't polished it too much. We haven't gone overboard. But I think it just improves the overall look of the engine, and the carbs I think look great. They came out really good. But they certainly don't look too out of place with the look of the original engine. Exhausts came out great, as did the chrome on the front fender, and even on the ears for the headlight, and also the surrounds for the gauges. They came out looking really nice. We fitted BT46s. We've been through the front brake caliper, stripped, rebuilt and replaced the internals. We added a horn, which the original horn wasn't working. And again, you can see here, this is how the other side of the head looked before we gave it a little love. I think that looks a lot better. So yeah, making some really good progress. And in part 3 we should be then ready to finish up putting the graphics on the paint, refitting the side panels, and then the best bit, which we're looking forward to most, is taking it down the road and seeing how she runs. So as we finish up episode 2, let's have a look and see what we've spent so far. So $500 in part 1, really on carbs, engine, rubbers, consumables, spark plugs, fuel line, etc. Little bit heftier spend in this episode here. The biggest cost is obviously tyres, which are costing a fortune in America at the moment. The side covers is $200, but that also includes the cost of rubbers and the side covers, etc. But it all adds up. So you can see $1,100 in part 2, $487 in part 1. So the running total so far, without any labour or any optional vapor blasting that we've done, we're at nearly just shy of $1,600. So that's it for part 2. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've enjoyed the ride, and look forward to seeing you in the next episode. If you like what you've seen, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Thanks again.